All right, today we're going to be making a zucchini soup. So for this, we need some zucchini. I'm using 3 today, plus 1 yellow squash. Doesn't matter. You can use 4, you can use 2. Really just depends on how much soup you're making. An onion and some garlic cloves. I'm using 5 cloves, but you can do much more or much less than this, just depending on how garlic you want it. And you also need a little helper, little Juno. She's going to be our helper today. First step is going to be turning this oven on to right about 375, 350, 375. Not that deep. Either way, it'll get done. Boom. Start off by cutting our veggies. Get this onion first. Go straight down the middle. Ish. Not really a very good cut. But that allows us to peel this nice and easy. Skin comes right off, as you can see. Can even get this extra layer off. One's a little tougher sometimes. There we go. Alright, cut this. It doesn't really matter how you cut it, because we're going to be... Whoa! It doesn't matter how this gets cut, because at the end of the day, it's going in a blender. So it's okay, but I'm cutting it on the smaller side, so that it doesn't take forever to cook. Throw that over there. Let's get our next piece done. Like I said, you can just go ahead and take that whole first layer of skin off. It'll save you a bunch of time and barely waste any onion. It's just one layer, it's really not that much. Same thing here, just a rough chop, it doesn't really matter what we're doing here. Try your best not to cry, because obviously, my eyes are burning. Little break. And there we go. That is our onion. Stay away from that. Wow. If you notice that you're crying a lot, getting a lot of stuff in your eyes, it might mean that your knife is not sharp enough, and that you're actually squashing the onion as you're slicing it, instead of doing a nice clean slice, which is what agitates more and more and more of those, that chemical. I'm going to keep chopping this up. So you can probably hear I'm a little congested, so it's really important if you're ever cooking sick to wash your hands a lot. Make sure that nobody you're cooking for is also getting sick, because that is no fun. See, we're dumping all our ingredients straight onto that pan over there. So we're going to be stirring this straight in the oven. There's no reason to get more stuff dirty. This is all just real rough chops. It's not that deep. We just don't want it to be too big, so it doesn't take too long to cook. Keep going here. Very rough, very not pleasant chop. We're definitely not doing a very good job here. We're just gonna cut our last ones at the same time, because fuck it. Cut in half. And in half again. Not really, but that's okay. really emphasizing this again, you do not have to do a good job at cutting this. However, the more even the pieces are, the more evenly they will cook, and you won't have to have a slightly overcooked piece and a slightly undercooked piece. But since we're making a soup out of this, it's not that big of a deal. Bigger pieces get cut in half, thinner pieces can stay. All right. Whoops, dropped a little piece there on the floor. Gotta pick that up fast before the assistant chef, Juno, gets a couple bites in on it. She already ate today, but if you give her the chance, she'll steal it. Go. Just chop, chop, chop. All right. You may have noticed I didn't say any seasonings earlier. I didn't mention anything about seasonings, and that is for a particular reason that we are just gonna do whatever. So I'm thinking salt, pepper, you know, some olive oil, of course, paprika, and kind of just whatever I have. Same thing with your garlic, by the way. We're gonna do some rough chops. You don't want to cut it too small, because otherwise it will burn. Got some more floor pieces. Pick those up. Let's clean our area up now that we are done with our cutting board. Put all this right here. Boom, boom, boom. Look, you got your wet paper towel. Clean up the counter. Perfect. We are ready to season this. So first and foremost, get some olive oil. Just a nice healthy drizzle on there. Oh yeah. Lots of it. Now, it's kind of whatever you want. So I'm just gonna grab some random spices here. Salt, pepper, paprika, red pepper, garlic powder. Grab some oregano. Grab some basil. I think that is going to be it for today. We also have some garlic salt, but we have salt and garlic powder, so these is the same thing as that. Get some garlic powder. Not too much garlic powder because we're already gonna have fresh garlic in there. It's just garlic powder is a different garlicky taste. That's why you want a little bit of both. So a nice healthy seasoning of everything on here. Lots and lots of everything. We want lots of flavor to be able to develop in here. Get some herbs. Gonna go light on the red pepper because we don't want this to be too spicy. Go a little more paprika. And that'll be all. Now, the fun part, you get to go in there and mix it all around. Make sure all your stuff, whoa, try not to lose pieces like I'm doing. I think we're already down 3 pieces, but it's all right. Give it a good mix, everything nice and coated in our oil and our seasoning. Then you want to spread it out, flatten out, so that everything gets a nice, whoops, that one didn't go on the floor, we can save it. A nice even cook. All right, quick hand wash. And now, even though our oven is not preheated fully already, right? We started at the beginning of the video, but it has not finished. We're still just gonna put it straight in there for about 15 minutes. While our veggies cook, we are going to make a quick little garlic bread toast. So we're grabbing a piece of garlic clove and we're just rubbing it on our baguette. Just 1 clove of garlic is fine since we have just about a half a baguette. Doesn't need to be crazy garlicky. Just get that going. Rub, rub, rub. Rub-a-dub-dub. Almost at the end here, getting a little hard, so we might just have to give up. All right, that is enough of that. Let's grab our knife. You can see this is a very wobbly cutting board, so you gotta be careful here. We're gonna cut these on a bias. So this first piece right here, you're gonna get something to get this to stop sliding because it's dangerous. Just a little one of these, a little damp, plenty. There we go. So now we got our bias. We can keep cutting these right along that. That's gonna help us get some nice, pretty pieces of toast. Sometimes if not, it's not working, we're gonna keep it like this. All right, that'll be enough. A little toasty toast. Let's get a nice small baking sheet. Forgot the name for a second. We don't even have that much. Only 7 pieces, but it's for Ava, not a big bread gal. Get a nice film of olive oil. You see I'm putting my finger, my thumb on top of the hole, right? And it's allowing for a nice thin, controlled film, right? It's thin, you see it? Boop. Little droplets as I move. We put a little way too much on the sheet here as I was showing you the thin example, but it's not that big of a deal. Just gonna give these. Instead of flipping them and giving another film, I'm just rotating them and doing this because of how much excess is on this baking sheet. Now for these, it's very simple. Garlic salt, right? Just a little bit. Paprika, also, just a little bit. Doing it from nothing's really falling yet. There we go. Just a little bit. We're adding some color to these guys, and that's it. And then lastly, just a little bit of oregano. Just light. See, just a little bit. Just to get the idea of oregano. Now these are gonna go into the same oven that our veggies are in, except for probably about 6 minutes. And as you can see, I'll show you the veggies. They are still going good. It's been about 5 minutes since we put these in the oven in real time. So we'll check back in another 5 to see how our bread's doing. It's been about 6 minutes. Let's check on our croutons. Whoa, they're blue. All right, color on these is looking all right. Let's give them a press test. They're not soft anymore. A little bit on the other side. Gonna give these like, say, another minute. Let's check on our veggies though. All right, these are looking good. Our zucchini and our squash, as you can see, is getting very soft. Some pieces still a little too hard. but all in all, not so bad. Don't pay attention to the fact that I have a really long knife here. A spatula is really what you want. I'm just moving stuff around a little bit. By looking at this, I'd say I would give my veggies, if they look like this, about another 10 minutes. Realistically though, it doesn't really matter, you know? Your veggies are gonna go in here afterwards. They're gonna get blended up real nice. So if they're a little extra soft, it's okay. If they're a little extra hard, he's gonna struggle a little more. So better to go over than under, but you know, just play it by ear. However you would normally eat your zucchini, a little less cooked than that is what you want. All right, it's been about another 2 minutes, a little longer than I said. Let's take these guys out. They are looking great. Look at these. Look at the other side. Perfect. Perfect little croutons. Veggies. Probably another 8 minutes from now, I guess. Just gonna let them simmer or let them roast. Alrighty, tidy. Right back where we started. Woo. Can't see shit. Can't see shit. Get a little pat down. Now look at these. Look at these. Looking good. Looking good. Now, it's been like 9 minutes since the last check-in. Probably a little more than 20 something from the start, so a little more than what I had previously expected to do. And you can see these are starting to brown a little bit. This is almost a little more than what you want them, but these are going to be perfectly fine. Like I emphasized before, a little too much, a little too little when you're making a soup like this is really not that big of a deal. Really not that big of a deal at all. So now we are going to have to transfer this into our blender. So let me get this set up here so you can see this happen. Real easy. Real easy. We're just going to start by scraping this off to one side. Or not really one side, but kind of get it ready. If you put it all in one corner, it's going to fall too fast. So you kind of want to set it up like a strip. Then you could also let this cool down for a couple minutes. That's not a bad idea. But we're a little short on time because I got to leave for work in 10 minutes and I still haven't gotten ready. So we are going to go faster. One thing you could also do to make it easier on yourself is take this off the fucking 6-inch stand. So it's a lot shorter, a lot less high up. And now you could get on it from above a lot easier. Whoa, kind of missed a little bit there. It's okay to rest it on the blender, but you don't want to do that for too long because you got to think that this came out of a 400-degree oven, so the baking sheet is in fact pretty hot. Now we did miss some, that's okay. We can use our spatula to scoop it right up and throw it in the trash. Spatula goes in the sink. Of course, we are done with that. All right, boom, boom. So now we're just gonna put a little bit of chicken broth in here because if we blend this up, I mean, look, there is such little moisture at the bottom of this, and this is all oil too. Well, not that this is going to be much different. It's a lot of fat and oil too. But there's not a lot of moisture in here. So adding a little bit of chicken broth, I don't know, probably like a half a cup-ish. You can see, look, we're not putting crazy amounts. Look what it looks in here. That's maybe even a little too much chicken broth. But we'll see, you know. Every soup has different consistencies. You know how we do things on this YouTube channel. We kind of just go for it. For my mixers, got these options. I'm going to kind of play around with these three. But doesn't really matter what you do. It'll get the same result. Give it a shake. Give it a shake. Oh yeah. All right. When opening this back up now, it's been sealed, right? This is very hot. There is steam building up in here. The pressure is building up, so it's always important to hold the top down. But even more important that when you take this top off, you're careful where you keep your hand, because that steam can come out right up and burn you real bad. So you can even, some blenders have one of these guys, right? Take that off first. Just a little twist and pull. You see this one? Barely any steam coming off. That means that we are good to just remove this top bit. All right, now look at that. That is looking good, looking good. Let's look at the texture. Texture's looking a little thick, right? It's a little thicker than what you want your soup to be. Let's see how it tastes though. Let's give it a taste. Very good, but very hot. We're gonna add some more chicken broth to this actually, so that it may get a little bit more liquidy, just like that. Put this back on. Always make sure that you're lining up this thing correctly, because if it's like this or like this, you're gonna make a big mess. So that's good. This is good. We're ready to go. Giving it a tilt is gonna help you get everything incorporated better. Really make sure that gets nice and blended. All right, now we can check it again. Let's make sure we rinse our soup from last time. No, actually, not even rinse it. We're grabbing a fresh one because we are sick. I don't want to get other people sick. Oh, look at that. That is looking a lot more soupy. Notice the bubbles. That is, because this is almost boiling. It is hot. You can't really see the steam, but it's there. We're getting a lot closer to our soup consistency that we've been looking for. So what do? A little bit more chicken broth. A little bit more blendy time. Right back into it. Should be looking good now. Ooh. Let's see how we're looking. Oh yeah, look at that. That is a nice soupy consistency. And now for our very last step, we're going to take this soup and actually simmer it for just a couple minutes. Take these out the way. Grab yourself a nice medium pot. We're just gonna pour this right in there. Perfect. Just gonna give this a little stir, and we'll watch this stirring occasionally. All right, it's already pretty hot, so you don't have to simmer it on very high heat to get it to start simmering. All right, so even though we started from a cold pot, this is hot, hot, hot already. You can see it's already been 10 minutes since it came out the oven, right? 10 minutes since it came out the oven. We've been blending it with chicken broth straight from the fridge, and let's see what temperature it's sitting at. We're at 130, 132. That is well hot enough to burn your hands. It's not gonna leave like a scar or anything, but it's not gonna feel nice either. Just gonna leave this for a couple minutes. We do want to taste this. So let's grab ourselves the latest spoon that we used to check the consistency earlier. We have not put this in our mouth yet, don't worry. Let's see. That is tasting delicious, but in my opinion, it needs a little bit of salt. Now, just because I'm adding salt, I'm adding garlic salt, by the way. That's just my preference. You can add whatever kind of salt at this stage. But just because I'm adding salt at this stage does not mean you need to add salt at this stage. I'm also going to add some black pepper. Same thing though, just because I'm adding it doesn't mean yours needs it. This is really, at this point, all up to personal preference and taste. Whatever you want in your soup, you know, if you want some spice, put some cayenne pepper in there. Put some more red pepper flakes. It really, really is up to you and your personal tastes and preferences. Look how velvety and good this looks. By the way, if you ever want to reheat this soup, best way to do it is the same way we're doing it now. Put that thing in a pot and put it on, what we see, we get a little spill. If you have a spillage, just pick it up, give it a quick wipe. You know, if you're being fast, you can wipe straight on here. If you slow down though, if you're too slow, whatever you touch on there will catch fire, so be careful. But yeah, reheat it. Put a lid on this. Put it on like 2 or 3 heat. Leave it for 5 minutes. You'll be good. You'll be perfectly fine. This is gonna see it's smoking a little bit. It's gonna start simmering soon. Probably only need to simmer this for like 3 or 4 minutes. Honestly, not even. Just a couple minutes from now. Even though it hasn't really simmered much, I will be taking it off the heat. I don't know, simmering it, putting it in a pot like this and cooking it for a couple more minutes kind of helps your flavors mend together better. So that's why it's an important step of the process. But I guess if you were to not do it, it wouldn't be that bad of a... Wouldn't be a bad soup. It just wouldn't be the best soup. We want to try to make the best. So yeah, let's just leave this for a couple minutes, and we'll be back. Something that's important to note is if you don't have chicken broth and you notice like when you're about to start making it, you don't want to go to the store. Just, I mean, if you have another kind of broth, use another kind of broth. You know, it doesn't matter if it's chicken, pork, beef, whatever. But just use water. Just use water and then go a little heavier on the other seasonings, you know, because this chicken broth has a lot of sodium and flavors in it. But yeah, just use water. We're not using the chicken broth for the flavor. We're using the broth for the liquid. And then we're upgrading to chicken broth for the flavor. But really the most important part is the liquid. So if you don't have it, just some water's fine, especially if you're trying to make like a little low sodium, even healthier type of soup. Get rid of the chicken broth. You can even, some people like a little bit of cream in there. Right at the end, right before serving, actually, the best way to do it. Serve your soup, drizzle a little bit of heavy cream in there. Some people like that a lot, some people don't. If that's something you like, it could be a really good finisher for a soup. Give this a stir. Just another couple minutes or so. Just to kind of refine this beautiful soup over here. Now this soup is very hot. When we're going to put this in the fridge, very good. It is tasting very good. You're got a new spatula now, but it's okay. When you put this stuff in the fridge, like I was saying, you don't want to put it in a pot that's too big and thick. It's going to take a long time to cool that way. It's better to store something like this in a couple smaller containers rather than one big one. Let's see what we got. So we got two 32 ounce right here. I think these is going to be a little better than getting one big one. Hopefully it'll fit in between these two, but we will see. Also, nothing wrong with letting your soup cool for 20 minutes off the heat before putting it away in the fridge to help something like this plastic, you know, not melt maybe. These are high food grades, you know, that's usually what the Chinese to-go places serves like your soup in. So these, you know, are going to be fine with the heat. They can go in the dishwasher. But not everything's always like that, you know, and you never know. So, and also, you know, it's better for your fridge to not put super hot things in there. You put warm stuff, you know, it's not a 1970s fridge. They can handle hot foods, but you don't want to put something straight off the stove in there. That's too hot. Mainly because the item won't be able to cool down properly. Now this is a pretty thick soup, but this is about as good of like a simmer as you're gonna get for something like this before you get to just a straight up boil. Just because, ooh, that hurt. Just because of how thick it is. And when it starts boiling, and it's going to start launching more and more of those very hot spurts of soup at you. Just so you see how hot it's gotten in just those couple minutes. Yeah. Woo, another one. 150 something, right? But also look at this. If you go down to the bottom, obviously way hotter, right? But right here towards the middle, it's a 30-degree difference. That's why it's important to stir your food. Stir, stir, stir. All right, and it's also time to turn that heat. Oops, that is a big spill. That is going to be a pain in the butt to clean. We're going to take this off the heat and leave it right over here for a couple minutes while it cools down. And just look at that beautiful soup. See, there are still some little bit of chunks in there. It's best if you don't get those, but you know, we're not in a professional kitchen. We don't have professional equipment, nor do we have the time to do something like this. I could, if I had a cheesecloth, run this soup through it, you know, and get some of these chunks out. But it's too much work. This is going to be a perfectly tasty soup.